and we will get started talking about the marquee. And the marquee feature is kind of this almost like a news ticker or scroller that's going to show up at the top of your site here. So today's webinar is going to, first of all, show you how you can add that marquee at the top or in that space of your site if you'd like it displayed. I will also go through how you can design it, kind of different design options for it, as well as different options for content that you can choose to have scrolling through that marquee up there at the top. So I'm going to use a different site here to demonstrate a couple things. Get that pulled up. So to add that marquee in, that is going to be involving your site's design tools, which I always just like to throw out. Design is something that is only accessible to users with the administrator user role. So if you have students who are just contributors or editors on the site, they are not going to be able to access the place where they can actually add and design the marquee. So for the admin users who want to go in and add a marquee to the site, that is going to be in your site's design options, which you can get to by hovering over the SNO dashboard tab here in the upper left-hand corner. And then it is the last drop down here for your design options. So go ahead and click into that. And from here, you're going to see kind of a whole lot of tabs on the left. We will have next week some webinars going over these design options in a little bit more detail. But for today's webinar about the marquee, we are going to spend our time in the tab that is labeled Site Designer. And this Site Designer tab is really where you get a good blueprint of your homepage. So you have kind of all of your elements up in your header area up here at the top. Your homepage widget areas are kind of a configuration of the spots on your homepage that are showing your content in the middle here. And then a breakdown of all of your footer area elements. So in this case, I'm going to add a marquee to my site, and I'm going to do that up in the header area here. Now I can see right now that my header area is full. I do not currently have any space to add a marquee or any open spots for it. So I am going to need to add a new row into my header here. And then from there, I'm going to be prompted to select content for that row. Now, when I click on add content, I have a whole bunch of different options in here to choose from. But in this case, again, when I click on add content there, I am going to select the marquee, and that is going to be kind of that scroller or that scrolling news ticker at the top of my website. So I'm going to select marquee here. And then when I select that marquee element, I have all of these different options for choosing the content of the marquee up here at the top. And then lots of options for designing what it's going to look like when it's on my site. So I'm just going to leave most of these as is for right now. We'll come back and kind of talk about different options in here later. But I'm going to click on this little X in the corner here. And now I can see that that marquee is added to my header area. It's a really important step after I've added that marquee. I do need to click on this blue Save All Design Options button up in the corner here. And after I've done that, if we go refresh my homepage and take a quick look, there I can see my marquee has been added to the top of my website here. Now let's say that I want to go back in here and I want to make some edits to the look of the marquee. I maybe also want to edit the location of the marquee. Maybe instead of underneath my menu, I want it up at the top of my site here. So if I want to rearrange where that marquee is, I'm going to grab these arrows on the left and I can click and drag to move it to a different spot. So again, maybe I want it more at the top of my site here. The other thing that I can do if I want to maybe make that row a little bit shorter, the marquee is maybe a little taller than I'd like, I can place my cursor on this border here and click and drag to adjust the height. So let's first just move it to the top, make it a little shorter. Again, I'm going to click on this Save All Design Options up here in the corner. And now if we go take another look at the home page, I can see that marquee is at the top of my header space, and it is a little bit shorter there. So let's say I want to edit the appearance now that I have it in the location I want. To edit its appearance, if I hover over that marquee element, this little gear is going to pop up in the upper left-hand corner here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and kind of start using some of these options in here. So maybe instead of saying breaking news, I want this to say latest updates or something like that. I can change that text label that's showing up here on the left. I can change the style of that label. So maybe I want it to be rectangular instead of pointed. I can change the font there, font weight there. I can change the label background color. Maybe I want it to be a black background instead of that dark red. I can adjust some of the padding in here for the label if I want to. I can change the marquee background color. That's that kind of light gray color that you're seeing there. So maybe instead of that, I want it to be a white background. I can adjust the text color. I'm just going to leave that at auto color, which is that kind of black color you're seeing there for my text. I can adjust the font there, font weight, text size. I'm happy with all of that. I'm going to leave most of that as is. I can adjust how much space is between each of those entries as they scroll. I can even adjust how quickly that marquee is scrolling. So right now it's right in the middle, but if I wanted it to scroll slower or faster, I control that there. And then lastly, I can do some things with those entry dates that are showing those kind of dark gray boxes there. If I want to hide those entry dates altogether, I can do that, or I can adjust the design. So let's go ahead and hide those entry dates. So I've made a couple changes here to my marquee design. Once I am finished making those changes or updates, I'm going to click on this little X in the corner and save. And now if I refresh the home page, I should see those couple changes there. So I see a different label and design of that label here on the left. That gray background is gone here. And then those dates are no longer displayed either. Couple design changes there. And again, to change the design of the marquee, I'm just going to hover over it in this Site Designer tab, click on that gear, and then I have all of my different options there. Now, the last thing to note is determining the content that is scrolling through in that marquee. You've got some different options for that. So I'm going to, again, click on this little gear here within that marquee element. And up at the very top is where I can change the content that's displayed. So by default, this marquee is going to pull in any breaking news headlines that I have. And if I want to add a new marquee, or if I want to add, excuse me, a new headline to scroll through that marquee, if it is set to display breaking news, I am going to come to this breaking news tab here in my dashboard. And this is where I would add that breaking news headline. So I can come in here and add new. Maybe I want to say marquee webinar happening today. And then as soon as I publish that breaking news headline, if we go take another look at my homepage, I can see there is that breaking news headline now scrolling at the top. The other cool thing about this breaking news option is if I want to link out to something like a story or a Google form or something like that, I have the option to add a link to that headline. So let's add a link in there and update it. Now, if I refresh, I'm going to see that same headline scrolling up at the top. But if I click on it, because I've linked it to something, it's going to redirect me out to whatever I've linked to that breaking news headline. So really kind of a neat option. And I would say if you're using the marquee, most people use it to display breaking news. And then they will go into this breaking news tab and add those breaking news entries as they want or need them scrolling on their site. So that is one option. I'm going to go back into my site designer here, click on that little gear. Upcoming events is kind of a neat option, and not one that's utilized a whole lot. So for upcoming events, I am going to go ahead and display those dates in my marquee again. So I'm going to deselect the box to hide entry dates. And then I'll save all design options in the corner. Now, I'm doing upcoming events now. So if we refresh, I don't see anything scrolling in my marquee, which means I don't have any upcoming events inputted yet. If you do upcoming events for your marquee content, you are still going to go into the breaking news tab to add those events. So I'm going to add new here. Let's say football game on Friday is going to be my breaking news headline here. And the only difference between breaking news and upcoming events, if it is an upcoming event, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to edit when this event is going to happen. So it's not going to happen immediately. I'm going to come in here and edit and say that this is happening on Friday, which I think is the 15th. That sounds right. And I will publish this. So now I've created this headline, football game on Friday, and I've scheduled and said that this is going to happen on Friday. So if we refresh, now I can see that upcoming event is scrolling up at the top there, football game on Friday, and the date corresponds with the date of the event. And the cool thing about this is if let's say this football game happened last Friday, which was, I think, the 8th. As soon as one of those upcoming events happens and the date has passed, it will automatically be removed for you in your marquee. So really, I think, again, kind of a neat option is to use that marquee for your upcoming events. And then again, you're going to put those upcoming events in the breaking news area here, and you will just schedule when that event is going to happen in order to get it to scroll in your marquee there. Couple other options I will just show you in here for marquee content. New headlines. This is going to allow you to select a category. So most people, I would say, if they're doing new headlines in their marquee, they will just have it scroll their recent stories. So if we X out of there and save, now if I take a look, I'm going to see just my newest stories kind of rotating up at the top there, and they are all linked out to the story. So if I click on one of these, it would take me to that story on my site. It's kind of a good option for the marquee there if you just want to scroll through your new headlines of any particular category. Another option would be recent scores, which you can control in your sports score tab here on the back end of your site. So it looks like I've got some recent scores in here already. If we refresh the homepage and take a look, there I can see those recent scores scrolling up at the top there. It's got the date, the sport, and then the results or the scores. So if I add a new score in here, let's say we had a football game on Friday and we won on Friday. I'm going to put our scores in here and we'll publish this game. Now I can see that game showing up or that score showing up here in that marquee. That would be another option for content in the marquee is recent scores. The last option for content would be custom text. And I've seen this one utilized a lot at the end of the school year or during the summertime. This is just going to pull in and scroll whatever text you input here. So how I've seen this used is, our staff is currently on summer break. We will resume publishing in September. So again, whatever I input here for custom text, if I save in the corner and refresh, there I can see that custom text rotating or scrolling at the top there. So all of that said, if I go back into the marquee, again, you have 5 different options for things to display or scroll at the top. As I mentioned, I think breaking news is by far the most common one that I see scrolling up at the top, and you can control the headlines via this breaking news tab here in your dashboard. But if you wanted to try that upcoming events or new headlines or even recent scores and use your sports scores, have those scroll at the top, you have options to do that as well. The last thing I will say here is if you are choosing breaking news, upcoming events, new headlines, or recent scores as you're scrolling content at the top, you do get to choose the number of entries that you want to scroll. So if I wanted maybe just 5 to scroll at a time, I could do that. Or I can do up to 20. So you can adjust the number of entries that you want scrolling at the top, as well as selecting the content that you want. So that is everything when it comes to adding that marquee. Again, to do that, I'm going to go into the design options, into the site designer, and then add that marquee into my header space. Designing the marquee, again, I can just click on the gear in the corner and I have all of those different design options I can customize. And then choosing the content that is scrolling through the marquee up at the top. That is everything that I had planned for today's webinar. I'm going to stop my recording here.